An introduction into rune lore. This is going to be the first video that is going to dive further and deeper into aspects around rune lore, rune readings, the rune staves, which is first diving into the roots of the rune lore. Then we dive further into the bark of the runes, let's call it the rune staves, and then we dive further into the runes itself, which can be used for divination. So within this introduction video, I just really want to briefly touch on this whole subject, as I really got very fascinated by our North European culture, spiritual traditions and heritage to really reconnect with our roots. Now, we live in an absolutely fascinating time. At one part of the spectrum we see, let's call it, the global control systems that has been set up through the financial system, the economic system, that is kind of like pushing some sort of pressure into our daily life, that for us it's maybe difficult to re-identify ourselves, like who are we really, who am I really, and what is that I came here to do? At a soul's level, what is my primary purpose, or perhaps even my secondary purpose in life? And of course the biggest questions, like where do we really came from? Now, at one part we see the pressures in our daily life, and then at the other part of the spectrum we also see is that new states of consciousness are basically like opening up to us, that is being provided to gain more knowledge and wisdom about who we are, what is truly our identity, where do we came from, where we are going, and what is really like here my purpose on this world. So at one part we perhaps can feel a little bit disassociated with the current state of the world, which can cause perhaps levels of fragmentations within our minds and soul. And that's why on this channel I dive further into the shamanic impulse or the shamanic initiation of our North European cultural and spiritual heritage. Now, why is this now more important than ever? Like, if you look back 2000 years ago, the whole of the esoteric shamanistic impulse that Europe has known through the time of paganism, whether it be the Germanic, the Celtic, the Druids, the Nordic impulse of paganism, and Animism, where we felt highly connected to the elements of nature, the different spirits, deities, gods, and the creatures described in mythology, Germanic, Nordic mythology, that could represent different archetypes within a cluster of consciousness that can also kind of like exist within us. Now, through the power and control systems, back then it was the Roman Empire and the Roman Church that has used Christianity to weaponize, to completely play out a massive genocide over Europe, which of course completely disconnected ourselves. It completely uprooted us, disconnected from our spiritual cultural heritage, has displaced us, and since then we have been living kind of like in a life of lots of power struggles. So moving back into the spiritual and cultural heritage of the shamanic impulse that we have known over 2000 years ago and way before that, it is part of recognizing our ancestral lineage, and part of that is of course the whole rune lore as well, because this goes much further than just the rune readings, because it's part of the building blocks of our cosmology known in North European spiritual traditions. Now, some channels, they really like to look at this whole aspect from an academic, philosophical or or standpoints of literature, like really diving deep into the history of what we have known so far, what has been written in the books. Personally, I am more of a believer of looking more into the esoteric metaphysical aspect of it, because lots of this knowledge and wisdom still exist within us, within our spirit, within our mind, within our soul, which is stored within our DNA through epigenetics and is part of our ancestral lineage as well. Now, how did I ended up here personally of building up this interest in the runes and Germanic Norse mythology and the world of paganism and shamanism? Basically, 2006, 2007, I started to ask myself questions like, this is it, I'm working all day long, just working for my money, and I'm missing something in my life. I'm missing out a leg. I only grew up with my dad, had no mother in my life, so I started looking for, let's say, the divine feminine. That got me all the way to Peru, and by accident I ended up into the sacred site of Machu Picchu. Now, the tour guide mentions, like, if you go to this stone, then you feel like an energy impulse and then things will start to shift. Didn't believe any of that, but coming back here to the Netherlands, and basically I couldn't really come back to the society of culture of the Netherlands, of how we always have been kind of like living our life here. So that was kind of like the beginning of opening up my mind and spirit towards searching for more freedom. Coming out of college, working in a corporate shipping industry, and I started to struggle more with things around depression and anxiety, and what I thought that I had to do is look for more external freedom of working harder, making more money, starting my own business. And then through a burnout I started to open up even more towards spiritual healing. After following a year and a half of spirit coaching and going through lots of different kind of initiations through family consultations and also like out-of-body experiences that I had through Kundalini, I started to wake up and realize there is more to life than what the physical eye can see around us. So what that means is that the ancient parts of the mystical of our spiritual traditions is now also meeting the scientific communities of metaphysics, quantum physics, and let's call Jung into this equation as well, who was basically our German philosopher psychologist that through his own work of the study of the psyche and the subconscious minds, that he also experienced a shamanic initiation as well. So through the parts of synchronicities that also has been studied and researched in metaphysics, quantum physics, is now also meeting our ancient spiritual past as well, where our ancestors were speaking about gods, deities and spirits that can be counseled through the runes, through divination, now is actually meeting the world of synchronicities. Because within the basic of the roots of the Runelore is like the web of weird, which is and has everything to do with the web of life. Now, within the web of life, some like to call it the Akashic records, but within that, of course, we have the building blocks of the web of life, the cosmic web of life. That was basically what was believed in Norse mythology. Through the web of life, we can find synchronicities that can be accessed through the rune readings as a form of spiritual counsel, guidance, personal empowerment of navigating our daily life. And that is all still kind of like part within our existence as well. So this is a really interesting time that I feel like has been an incredible path for me as well, like following different shamanic workshops and trainings, and through these different forms of initiations that I've experienced through soul retrieval, ancestral healing, inner child healing, going into spiritual healing such as Reiki, has kind of like opened up portals within my own mind and within my own spirit and soul of navigating this spiritual realm of our ancient past. And let's say, I think this also plays a very important role through our generational trauma and ancestral healing, but also through ancestral developments that is still existing within us, that now can come to the surface of finding new levels of guidance and support and counseling that we can use right now in our daily life, of reconnecting with our North European ancestors, of looking at the current world and the position it is in, of its crises in its own way, and within that lies also opportunity of reconnecting further and deeper within our own roots, to re-identify ourselves that is much closer towards our inner self, of our true essence, of our true authentic self. And then we can start to operate and find a way of what it is that we are really here to bring to the world, where we are making this new kind of transition into a world that is more in harmony with nature, with our own nature. And I think that also can play a role of the runes as well, because they are the building blocks of our cosmology within the Northwestern European spiritual and cultural traditions. So this is the first introduction video. Within my next video we dive further and deeper into the histories and where it really came from, and then of course as we go on we go further and deeper into the rune readings itself, together of course with the Norse, Germanic mythology, paganism, but also more from a shamanistic point of view. So we continue to research that as well, as this also really goes together with things around soul retrieval, ancestral healing, and this is really kind of like the purpose of this channel. So if this has your interest, then of course feel free to subscribe, and I look forward to see you on my next videos. Take care for now.